last few days, most of the attention in Pakistan's media was on issues related to the Memogate, the aftermath of Mamanda attack, the issues related to the health of President Zardari. But another event was unfolding in Iran, and that had to do with the downing of stealth 170 US drone that came down near the border with Afghanistan. This event has serious implications for the region, especially because this drone also was involved in the Osama bin Laden operation in Pakistan and was sending live feeds to White House during the operation. We want to go to the region and ask our guests today to evaluate the implications of this particular incident. We have a defense analyst from Pakistan, then we will go to a representative of Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf PTI in Arkansas. Then we have a member of parliament in Afghanistan who will talk to us about what Afghanistan thinks about these particular events. And lastly, we'll go to the head of Middle East Institute in Ohio University. Let's now go to Pakistan, where Brigadier Mahmood Shah, who is a defense analyst, is joining us from Pakistan via Skype. Welcome, Brigadier Mahmood Shah. I wanted to ask you, first of all, the question about the downing of the stealth drone RQ-170 in Iran. As you know, this is the same drone that was also used during the Osama bin Laden operation. And also during the operation, it was sending live feeds to the White House. Pakistan has usually paid more attention to the Predator drones and has not covered as much this particular drone, which is also known as the Beast of Kandahar. Is there any particular reason for that?
I think Pakistan is still working on its cyber aspects, and and I think this is being worked out even in China. And in response to this drones, which is a new technology, is more what you call as a robotic warfare. It has been discussed at various levels, and it's being thought that's even against the Geneva Convention, and it has brought a sort of change in the complete warfare, what you call. And I think that many people have been demanding that this should be shot down by our Air Force. And I think our Air Force is not doing that because it is like killing a fly with a hammer by manned aircraft. So I think the answer or the remedy lies in working out certain cyber warfare aspects. Pakistan is also working on it. Other countries are also working on it. And I think soon there will be, and Iran has demonstrated that, people will come out with a response where this can be easily taken over. Like the Iranian is far more backward, I would say, in electronic warfare or the cyber warfare. But I think our people are far more forward. But the response so far has not been put forward. I think it must be in the stages of research.
Brigadier Shah, what do you think about the evolving role of Afghanistan? It seems like the drones are flying from there into Iran as well and to Afghanistan. What are your views on this particular role of Afghanistan, where it seems like it's becoming the covert central for the region, where all kinds of secret operations are being conducted across different countries?
I think when US talks about living bases, that's the main reason that probably in this region they want to stay for a longer period, and probably they have some more objectives than simply bringing peace and stability to Afghanistan, which they have not been able to do so far after 10 years. And now they are leaving off bases on the pretext that the situation in Afghanistan has not been stabilized, has really alarmed various countries. It includes Russia, it includes China, it includes Pakistan, It includes Iran, and it also includes India. Because in Istanbul Conference, they brought out a copy of the Organization for Security and Cooperation of Europe, OSCE, sort of agreement to be signed for Afghanistan. And that was a sort of giving an extended role to NATO and also to America the right to be in this area, which Pakistan opposed, Russia opposed, China opposed, and of course Iran I think wasn't there, but India did not openly oppose, but what we learned that they are also against it. And I think that they would be using these bases for maintaining this sort of electronic warfare or sort of intelligence activities in this region. So therefore, people are against this. And Bagram, for a very long time, has been used for these drone attacks. They were also using probably Shamsi Air Base, and Pakistan has asked that Shamsi Air Base to be vacated, and I think they have vacated. But that was no longer required by them. Initially, they got this Shamsi Air Base for emergency landing, that in case the aircraft which are flying out from the battle carrier, that they, in case they develop some hydraulic faults and they cannot land back on carrier, they need an air base, and that is why Pakistan gave them. But subsequently, they developed it into a drone sort of base also. So some of the attacks were being launched from this. But I think their main base would remain Afghanistan.
Brigadier Shah, according to media reports, US has already vacated the Shamsi Air Base, where most of these drones were located in Pakistan. I mean the Predator drones, not the RQ-171. What is the status of those other bases, the Pasni and the Jacobabad one? Those were also initially given to the US for help in
No, I
Afghanistan.
don't think so. In Pakistan, it is being talked about. First is, of course, Jacobabad. No, Jacobabad was given to them in violation of the initial agreement. Initial agreements only included three sort of terms, which were known to me at that time because I was Director of Military Intelligence. And one was that they wanted a base or a couple of bases where they could land for the reason hydraulic faults and so on and so forth. That was one. The second, they required custody for changing of troops for recreation purposes. The helicopters would bring troops from the battle carrier, and they would land them at Tusney, and then they would be taken by sea 141 to Digo Garcia for changeover trips. So that has been vacated. Then lately we learned, I mean, this was one was overflight, second was were these bases, and third was intelligence cooperation. Only these were the three terms of agreement which were made between. But in between, I think that it was even not known to the Army High Command because I asked particularly as to why Jacob Watt has been given. And I think that was used in a major manner for staging attacks onto Afghanistan. But due to very strong opposition, as soon as the war came to a sort of low level in Afghanistan, it has been vacated and it is no longer there. The second place is Karbala, and there are special operation task forces based. So they brought in certain people who were providing sort of spare parts for our helicopters. They also made a small base where these people used to live, and we learned that they were using it for intelligence activities. So that has also been vacated to the best of my knowledge. And similarly, they had also made a small sort of place near Kahuta. That has also been vacated. So I think now except for some CIA elements which might still be operating. And the government of Pakistan is very critically looking into this. And if they suspect anyone who is working for CIA, they arrest him and they interrogate him. So that way they are trying to deny space to the American sort of intelligence operations within Pakistan.
Brigadier Shah, another question is, according to your knowledge, was the RQ-170 drone ever based in Shamsi as well? Because if it did, it had carried serious repercussions for the region. As you know, during the Cold War days, the U-2 spy plane used to fly from Peshawar and carry out spying missions over Soviet Union and was eventually shot down, creating a crisis at that time. Do you think this particular drone, the Beast of Kandahar, was ever based in Shamsi?
I think you are right. And this Shamsi Air Base, when I told you that the initial purpose only this and this subsequently developed it into a base for these predators or drones. Now, if you see the crow flight distance between Waziristan and Shamsi and Bagram and North Waziristan, I think most of the attacks in North Waziristan were launched from Bagram because it was, I think it is less flying time than it would have from Shamsi. But I think Shamsi was basically used against Iran, not only in terms of drones, but I think even there would have been certain equipment which they were using. So I think closing of Shamsi base, where on one side it wouldn't affect Pakistan because the initial sort of effort that they wanted to have, or for the reason for which they got Shamsi Air Base, no longer exists. But these drones there and this in close proximity of Iran, that is about 100 kilometers from Iran. So that is why, and Pakistan did not have much information regarding the base. Somehow they had handed over. Some of our Air Force officers used to visit and they talked to me and they told me that I think Pakistan must ask them to vacate this base. So I think a good sort of occasion arrived, and where on one side they have asked for a stoppage of the NATO supply route within Pakistan, which they might revive if there is good agreement between the two. But I think there is no chance for Shamsi Air Base to be revived.
Thank you, Brigadier Mahmood Shah, for joining us and sharing your insights with us. It seems like Brigadier Shah brought in some very important observations. He thinks if the RQ-170 was ever based in Shamsi Air Base, it does create serious consequences for other allies of Pakistan, which includes China as well as Iran. It would be very serious if any of these drones were flying from spy surveillance drones were flying from Pakistan. Now let's go to the representative of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Dr. Asad Khan. He is the secretary for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, also called PTI in USA. And we are going to pose a question of him because PTI has for a long time been very critical of the drone attacks in Pakistan. And the popularity of PTI has been rising in Pakistan, and its chairman Imran Khan is considered by many to be the next leader of Pakistan. So let's go to Dr. Asad. Welcome, Dr. Asad, and thank you for joining us. I wanted to ask you your opinion on drone attacks. It's well known that your party is very critical of drone attacks in FATA and tribal areas. But today I want to ask you about another incident which involves drones of a different kind, the RQ-170, which is used for surveillance and reconnaissance, and Iran claims to have brought it down near its border with Afghanistan. This particular one is RQ-170, also known as the Beast of Kandahar. But I wanted to ask you, what is the rationale behind your criticism of drone attacks in Pakistan, especially when many others claim that it have been very effective against targeting extremists, and in US some officials claim it's the only game in town.
Thank you, Arif, for taking me in the call and allowing me to present Chairman Imran Khan's position on drones and drone warfare. His stance, Imran Khan's stance, has remained categorical, undeviating, persistent since the drone war started in 2004, and that is that we are categorically against drone warfare. We are against drones in Pakistan um, because not only it causes civilian casualties, it also becomes judge, jury, and executioner, in which we have no information who are killed, who were they. They cannot be brought in front of judicial system. So there is no rule of law actually being followed. We are not at war with United States. And so drone coming into Pakistan, breaching Pakistan's sovereignty, makes it arouses a lot of passion, intense hatred, anger, and more hardline response from different sectors of our society. Plus, it causes conflicts which we're already seeing, um, of Pakistani military people dying or mistakenly being attacked in different areas. All these things and today's newest events have led us even more in the direction that this drone warfare can cause even more problems and can potentially lead to an open confrontation and warfare, which neither party, United States or Pakistan, can ill afford. So that has been the main thrust of his anti-drone uh, position.
Dr. Asad, what do you think are the implications of the downing of the RQ-170 by Iran? As we had talked, the same drone was also conducting surveillance and reconnaissance over Pakistan.
If drone warfare has expanded exponentially, and not in this theater, but if we remain specific to this theater of Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan, we know a few things now. It has emerged that the Beast of Kandahar has been flying in this area and spying for the last at least 2-3 years. Um, what is interesting that RQ-170 is a stealth drone, which is very advanced, one of the most advanced stealth drones in the world. And if the main focus was Afghanistan, who does not even have radars to catch any aeroplane, there are no air force um, to say in Afghanistan. What was the role of RQ-170 in Afghanistan theater? Unless the only main purpose of it was to spy on Iran and Pakistan nuclear installations, as you already know that it has sensors for detecting radioactive material, and that has been mentioned in the newspaper and the journals. Um, we also know now that they've been flying for many years. That also raises the stakes for both Pakistan and Iran that perhaps their nuclear installations were being monitored. Now, what will that do for relationship between Pakistan and United States? Obviously, the Pakistani military and Pakistani government will look at it as these were spy missions on them and their nuclear assets. Will that lead to trust building? Of course not. That's why we are probably seeing the emergence of distrust, the cancellation of Bonn conference by Pakistanis. Um, so when people talk about building trust, and then we find out that for the last 2-3 years, these kind of drones have been flying and spying, uh, this is not going to lead to any peace. And let me add one more thing. Let me give you a scenario. Same scenario like happened in Iran. What if a drone similar to the one which was flying over Abbottabad during Operation Geronimo against Osama bin Laden, if a similar drone is now caught flying over a Pakistani nuclear installation or, for example, like Kahuta, and it gets shot down by Pakistani military, and the Americans come in trying to retrieve it. Special forces come in quickly to retrieve it, and it leads to a clash between the two forces. What are the implications of that battle between the two countries? How will they resolve this issue? What if a few dozen Pakistani soldiers right in the heart of Pakistan get killed and a few dozen Americans get killed? Then what will happen? Have they thought about that? And what if it arouses a lot of intense passion and aggression in the society? How will Pakistani military and Pakistani government contain that? So these are the things which really raises a lot of stakes here, raises a lot of concern here for both sides. And that's, I'm sorry to say, it appears that it has been overlooked, especially by the American government and the American military.
Dr. Asad, do you see any parallel between Iraq and Afghanistan in the sense of US withdrawal from both countries? As you are aware, US is withdrawing from Iraq militarily and has declared that it would complete its withdrawal before the end of the year. How do you think it relates to US withdrawal in Afghanistan?
Although we do hear about Iraq withdrawal from Iraq has been taking place and it has been brought down to a large extent. But if you look a bit more deeply, there are many questions raised about whether the desire to leave these two theaters, Afghanistan and Iraq, is actually on board or on the agenda. If you know about the U.S. embassy in Iraq, the new U.S. embassy in Iraq in Baghdad, it is the largest embassy of any country in the world at this time. It is amazing that it can house 5,000 people. It's cost about $750 million to $1 billion. Now, that doesn't show us that there is any intention to leave Iraq from a military standpoint, because a whole military post will be developed there. So I'm not sure that that is on the agenda, that Iraq will be left as a theater. Similarly, the whole idea in Afghanistan, especially being used as staging ground to spy on Iran, I would also assume spying on Pakistan nuclear assets. One can even assume as a spying staging ground towards China. You remember the U-2 incident from 1960s when Pakistani Bada Bear Air Force Base was used for U-2 bombers to fly into Soviet Union. I see a similarity here in which Afghanistan or perhaps Pakistan is being used as a staging ground.
Thank you, Dr. Asad, for joining Polytech today and sharing your views.